What's up, guys? John O'Neill here at Crest Sports Performance. Today I'm going to come to you with a little bit of a longer video, I think, because this one requires more than a minute to actually cover. So this is the stuff that we went over in our staff meeting this morning. A lot of it is heavily influenced by Ty Terrell at IFAST, so if you want to learn more about this topic, I would seek out his material. But this is just the way I taught it to our staff and interns today. So what we have here is a force velocity curve in the middle, and this is going to be your standard day one new athlete. It's going to be kind of below here. And then after your initial 3-4 months, however long it takes to make them a little more of an intermediate lifter, we're going to look at the second curves. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The second curve in relation to accommodating resistance and power development. So the three things accommodating resistance that we need to know: chains, band resistance, and band assistance. But before we discuss each one individually, you have to understand a little bit about what power work is and why it's important. So on the left here, we're going to be talking about actually just straight physics here and defining individual terms and how they relate later on. So first thing is power equals energy required over the amount of time required. Put simply, that equals work over time. If we work our way down the chain here, work equals force, F, times displacement, D. And then from there, power is force times displacement over time. So if we separate that out using math, power equals force times displacement over time. Power equals velocity, which is displacement over time. So knowing that force equals mass times acceleration, power is going to be mass times acceleration times velocity. And the reason I wanted to separate that out into three categories is each one of those three is going to match up with one of our three that we're going to talk about over on the other side of the board. So our three things, we're going to talk about chains, band resistance, band assistance. And if we look at this individual point in the middle here, somewhere in a power zone, which is going to be somewhere 30 to 80% is where peak power occurs, we're going to pick an arbitrary middle point for the point of discussion. But our green is going to represent chains, our orange is going to represent band resistance, and our pink here is going to represent band assistance. So anything that is coming from this x-axis and the y-axis going up this way or across this way is a good thing for an athlete, because then you're going to take a point of power for them and you're going to increase it this way, or both. These other zones in here represented by the dash green and the dash pink is going to be creating too much force or too much velocity at the point of force diminishment. Those are not positive things. So everything in here is a positive. That's what we're working to develop with accommodating resistance. So when we talk about why each of those three works the way it does, you have to know the force velocity curve kind of stretched out across this way. The green is the chains. So if we look at this in four individual zones, we have a force zone, a force power zone, a velocity power zone, and a velocity zone. The green, the chain zone, is going to work somewhat in the force zone and somewhat in the force power zone. These top ends here, on this end, top end force, top end velocity, are not going to be affected by accommodating resistance. So the green is force power. Orange, which is band resist, is going to be some force power and some velocity power. And then the band assist is going to be some velocity power and some velocity here. And these, if you are going to follow strict percentage-based lifting, this is probably going to occur somewhere around 50%. I don't like to use those numbers as strictly though, because that's going to vary a lot. But just know that up here is your 90+%, down here is your 20 to 30%, and below on that end. The middle is right basically on the middle of that curve. When we talk about programming and rep schemes, I'm going to give you guys kind of a sample layout of programming of what I would do with someone. But the two terms that I'm also going to steal from Ty are going to be a kangaroo and a gorilla. If you have some kind of velocity-based training unit or some way to actually test out if someone is a more elastic, explosive athlete, or if someone's more of a brute force, force production athlete, it's easy to separate those. If not, it just becomes a conversation. In our setting, it's usually a lengthened conversation or a month of watching them train and see what they excel at. So for chains, kangaroos are going to be strength speed, gorillas are going to be accelerative strength. Band resist, kangaroos are strength speed to speed strength, that's right in the middle here. Gorillas are going to be acceleration or accelerative strength to strength speed. Band assisted work is going to be for a kangaroo, that's going to be speed strength, and for a gorilla it's going to be strength speed to speed strength. That's more just trying to decipher names to know what you're working on with who you're working on it with. And I'll leave some sample rep schemes within the actual article itself. In terms of programming accessory work, that's also going to help. This is some stuff I've been using. So for single leg work, for the green, the person who needs more force production, who's going to be more affected by chains, that person I've been using a lot of tempo work, a lot of eccentrics, isometrics, trying to get them to produce high force at lower speeds, trying to get them to create good tension. So stuff like tempo method, 2 up, 2 down, no lockout, and stuff like 3 to 5 second eccentrics, 3 to 5 second isometrics has worked really well with them. The people who are kind of in the middle, who you're not quite able to decipher as a gorilla or a kangaroo, those basically regular single leg work, your 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, with a variety of different single leg exercises. I haven't put anything specific with those people. And then the other people, the people who are like more gorilla-like, who need to become more explosive, they're stuck in this realm. They need to get back to the middle here. I've been using a lot of low-level jumps, bounds, hops, stuff that's going to get them to produce high velocities at low forces in addition to regular strength training. So all this stuff is important, that even if you are using accommodating resistance, you're also going to include all kinds of regular strength training methods, so that the curve itself as a whole is not lost is not sacrificed at the cost of trying to train these zones. In terms of sprints and jumps, the person who needs the chains, who's more kangaroo-like, is going to need more accelerative type of sprinting, because there's higher ground contact times, and there's less eccentric stress. That way you can provide more eccentric stress actually in the weight room and still train sprints at the same time. The person who's kind of in the middle, you can train more top end speed there. I'd like to look at that as more like a sport specific, like what does the person actually need to train speed wise, instead of scaling their speed work based on their strength work. So that person's kind of in the middle, that's variable. And then the person who's down here, who has very high levels of force production, who needs higher levels of velocity production. Like I said with the single leg work, a lot of low level elastic type work, just to give them some base to that as you build that up throughout the off season. Obviously that was a lot within a couple minutes here, but hopefully that all makes sense. I'm going to provide pictures and some programming samples within the article itself.